cool. So I can give this to my
Got a good study. She was great.
She worked at a microfinance bank this past summer. I valued her
Before you were even in class, wow.
this size, man.
I felt you were trendy.
It's one of those days, you know.
I can't even try.
Wow.
I flaw.
Man, if I did that, my sister probably wouldn't talk to me ever again.
My sister, I'm proud of that.
Well, there you go.
Should we get started? Cool.
All right, we're going to go ahead and get started, guys. So first of all, thank you for coming out to the Alumni Relations Council event. Give you a little bit of an idea, the Wharton Alumni Relations Council is the main bridge between alumni and undergraduate students at Wharton. From speaker series event to rotational dinners, we try to take advantage of Wharton's greatest resources, our fantastic alums, and bring them here to the students. If you're a freshman and potentially interested in applying, we have an info session on September 24th at 7 p.m., so definitely come check us out. But let me introduce our speaker today, most importantly. Andrew Stern works on leadership, learning, and organizational development team at Bloomberg in New York. He manages the company's onboarding programs globally and teams with others to deliver a comprehensive suite of people-focused offerings to Bloomberg business areas. His latest work focuses on entry-level talent identification, development, and retention. Prior to joining Bloomberg, Andrew worked as a human capital consultant for Deloitte, where he advised Fortune 100 HR organizations on talent strategy, learning and development, and leadership programs. Andrew graduated from Wharton in 2010 with a concentration in organizational effectiveness. Let's give Andrew a big Wharton welcome.
Thanks, man. Thank you, brother. Thanks. Oh, man. I don't know if any of us can top Dylan's height. That's pretty special. My God. I don't know how you even fit in these desks. It's unbelievable. You got to sit in the exit row or something. So, thank you for that introduction. And thank you all for making the time to come out today. I want to ask all of you, just as we're getting started here, just so I know who's in the room, how many of you are freshmen? Wow. Awesome. I'm a freshman too. Are you sophomore? Nice. Juniors? Or sophomores? Are there any other sophomores? Nice. Cool. Juniors? Okay. Nice. Any seniors? Too cool for school. All right. Cool. Welcome you freshmen. You've been repping the yen cohort shirt. I was a peso, so I don't know that we can be friends. Yeah. Seriously. Peso's #1 on that thing, I think, right now. Yeah. Oh, you got to represent for us. So, you all signed up for this talk today, and I'm really grateful that you did, because I want to share some information with all of you about leadership, all right? And certainly you guys, many of you are in Management 100 right now. You're going to take Management 101, perhaps, as you get settled. Hey, come on in. It's all good. Which year are you, man? Sophomore. All right. Cool. This is the sophomore side. So you're going to learn more and more about leadership as you continue to get settled at Wharton, okay, and take courses here. I want to tell you a little bit about what leadership's like in the corporate world, okay? When you step outside of the academia, okay, when you step outside of a university setting, what's it like inside of companies, okay? And what are some of the leadership traits that individuals exemplify that are really successful inside of those companies, so that you can be just like them, all right? Super successful. Let me show you, just as we're getting started here, a picture of our first leader today. Oh, crap. This is actually me. Sorry. So, just wanted you guys to know, I've been in your shoes before, okay? I graduated in 2010. This isn't what I looked like in 2010, but I'm from Detroit, Michigan. As Dylan said, I studied kind of a part of the management curriculum called organizational effectiveness. So things like leadership, communication, group dynamics, industrial psychology, all of that kind of content, that's what I focused on here. When I say that, know that that means I took Finance 100 second semester senior year, okay? So the kinds of quantitative courses that a lot of you are probably in, I really pushed them back, all right? Not as far back as when I was 10 in this picture, but really far back in my Wharton tenure, all right? So let's start with this little statistic, okay? You guys may be surprised to know that 70% of the United States population is either disengaged or actively disengaged in their jobs, okay? So when we say disengaged, that means that an individual is doing the bare minimum to get by. Okay? And 52% of the U.S. population would fall into that bucket, just doing enough to get by. They would be disengaged. 18% on top of that would be actively disengaged. And the actively disengaged individuals are people who are actively combating what the company is trying to do. So they are individuals that are, when they're presented with, let's say, responsibilities, they're doing the exact opposite. Okay, so they're trying to hurt the companies that they work for. That's 18% of the United States population. The two pools combined amount to 70% of the U.S. It's pretty amazing when you think about it, that roughly 7 out of 10 people in their jobs are disengaged or actively disengaged from their work. All right? Here's another kind of complementary statistic. You may be surprised to know, okay, McKinsey did a study. You guys have probably heard of McKinsey, a big consulting firm out there. McKinsey did a study in 2012 that said, if you are an organization that wants to perform in the top quartile, the top 25% of your respective industry, you need to be a company that has a happy workforce, that has an engaged workforce. If your workforce would be described as motivated, happy, engaged, committed to the organization, it is 60% more likely that you will fall within that top 25% inside of the inside of the industry. All right? It's pretty amazing when you think about it. To fall in the top 25%, McKinsey's saying 60% of those companies have really engaged workforces. So it's a real priority for organizations today to think about their people and the extent to which their people are committed to the companies they're working for. All right? Let's go to this other statistic real quick. 38% of organizations feel that they have effective leaders running their firm. Okay? So roughly a third of companies today, the individuals inside those companies, roughly a third, feel like they have good leaders running those organizations. Anybody a little bit scared by that? Okay? Anybody a little bit blown away by that? Imagine you're working inside of a company and you and all of your peers, roughly a third of you, feel like leadership is doing a good job. I'm a little bit scared by that. I don't know about you guys. It's a little bit worrisome. A lot of individuals out there are observing that the current leadership models, the current leadership practices, are not proving to be effective today. What worked in the past may not work now. In the literature, the phrase that's frequently used is, what got you here won't get you there. Okay? Recycling previous practices and models won't necessarily be effective today. So what we're going to talk about today are kind of 3 models of leadership. Leadership 1.0, 2.0, 3.0. All right? Think of it like iOS. Anybody get the new Apple software? It's hot. It's hot. All right? You guys should download that. All right? If you have an iPhone. I know some of you got a Droid. It's all good. All right. So here's the other thing. 3 models of leadership, 1.0, 2.0, 3.0. Then we're going to camp out in 3.0. All right, we're going to talk about Leadership 3.0 and go through several examples of what that actually looks like in practice so you guys can leave today's talk with a series of traits that you can aspire to use when you're leading in student organizations, when you're going and having internships inside of companies, when you're perhaps mentoring younger students one day. All of these things will come to life for you. All right, let's start with this guy. Anybody know who this is?
Is it Michael Milken?
What's that?
Is it Michael Milken?
Michael Milken, good guess. This isn't him, though. Yeah, that's all right.
Is it Jack Immelt?
Jack Immelt? Jack Immelt? Oh, man, you got 2 names combined. All right, you're really close, though. Jack Welch. You were thinking Jeff Immelt. But Jack was right there. So close. All right, 3rd time's a charm? Jack Welch. Spot on. And what did Jack Welch do? You definitely know the answer to this.
Was it CEO of GE?
Exactly right. Okay? GE. Remember GE, like, really big company, all right? They have medical devices, and they're in cable. They're all over, all right? Great big company. Jack Welch is representative of Leadership 1.0, an authoritarian model of leadership, kind of a command and control model of leadership. That's Leadership 1.0. All right, that's what Jack's representing. What do I mean when I say command and control, authoritarian? What does it actually look like? All right, Jack Welch, in this particular example, you guys may be a little bit surprised to know, Jack laid off 121,000 people over 5 years, and despite those amazing layoffs, kept all of the real estate that those individuals used to work in. Okay? A command and control model of leadership. Let go of all these people, fire all of these people over 5 years, but for some reason, keep all of the workspace where they used to work. Okay? Because he told you to do it. It's a little bit interesting. All right? Not all of us would probably make the same decision. That's leadership 1.0. Another example, just so you guys are familiar, another example of this, Michael Eisner. Anybody recognize that name, Michael Eisner? Anybody heard of Disney? Yeah? Okay. Michael Eisner is the CEO of Disney, or was the CEO of Disney for 21 years. Okay? 21-year CEO of Disney. And Michael is known for being a really big micromanager. Okay? So much so, he would frequently give feedback to people lower in the organization on the font sizes on shampoo bottles in hotels. Okay? So he would go into a Disney hotel or resort, and he would take a shower, whatever he was doing, and he would grab the shampoo bottle, and he would be infuriated by the font size, perhaps the typeface as well, but the font size of the shampoo bottle. We're talking a CEO of Disney, okay, getting infuriated about font size. Okay? Command and control model of leadership. So he would yell at somebody and something would happen. Okay? He was also known to be especially interested in the wattage of the light bulbs that were right next to people's beds within Disney hotels. So he would be really upset if, let's say, it was 50 watts instead of 75 watts. Okay? Again, we're talking a CEO of Disney caring about this. All right? Total authoritarian, do it my way, fix this, I'm commanding you to do that. Leadership 1.0. All right? Here's this guy. Anybody know who this is? Anybody drink coffee? Yeah, coffee drinker? All right. Where do you go to get coffee? Starbucks, great answer. Okay. This guy is the CEO of Starbucks. His name is Howard Schultz. Okay. Howard Schultz is representative of Leadership 2.0. All right. Leadership 2.0 is an empowering model of leadership. So it is one where the leader is entrusting other individuals to kind of run with it, right? Give them an end goal and let them figure it out in their own ways. So how does that come to life in the case of Starbucks? When Starbucks was expanding globally, Howard said to the frontline managers, let's say in Dublin or in Russia or wherever they were growing internationally, he said, you guys know what works in your market. You know what products should be bundled together. You know when you should have certain sales. You know what products are most popular and what you should be buying more of. I'm not going to dictate that. Right? I'm not going to be the authoritarian command and control guy. Instead, I'm just going to kind of let you run with it. Right? I'm empowering you to do whatever works for you. I'm letting you do it. I'm giving you the freedom to do that. That's what Howard would do as an empowering Leadership 2.0 individual. Okay? Another person, just to give you another example. Anybody hear of the name Meg Whitman before? Yeah? All right, who's Meg Whitman? Exactly. Do you know her previous role? I thought I saw another hand, yeah? eBay, exactly right. She used to be the CEO of eBay and currently CEO of Hewlett-Packard. Spot on. Okay? So Meg Whitman in her eBay days was known to bring in toothpaste, cots, sleeping bags, clothes, toiletries, whatever other stuff that developers needed when they were pulling all-nighters at the company's headquarters to work on the website. Okay? So she's saying again, I can't personally fix the website, but I'm going to empower all of you as my R&D developers to work on them. Okay? I'm going to bring in all the food you want. I'm going to bring in the toothpaste that you love from home. I'm going to make it easy for you to do your thing. All right? That's an empowering model of leadership. Meg Whitman and Howard Schultz, in his case from Starbucks. All right? Here's your 3.0 or 3.0 example. Anyone know who this guy is? Yeah. I totally planted you in the audience in case you guys, that's unbelievable. You're 3 for 3. Tony Hsieh, all right? Tony Hsieh from Zappos. What is Tony's role at Zappos? Exactly right. CEO of Zappos. Anybody familiar with Zappos? Use Zappos? Yeah? What does Zappos do? They're all over it, okay? Zappos is known for having outstanding customer service. Like tremendous, unbelievable customer service. All right? A couple things you may not know about Tony Hsieh. I would kind of bucket Tony, by the way, in that 3.0 model of leadership. And 3.0 leadership is nurturing, it is connected, and it allows people to make an impact on their own. It kind of gives people the tools to go and make impacts on their own. Nurturing, connected, servant-like, you may say. Like Tony is a servant to the organization. All right? So here's a couple things you may not know about Tony. When Tony started Zappos, and still true today, employees go through a 4-week training program when they first start with the company. Not 2 days, not 2 hours, 4 weeks, a full month of training. Okay? And this is everybody inside the organization, whether you're a middle manager, whether you're straight out of school, anybody. All right? And at the end of those 4 weeks, Tony pulls you into a room, or perhaps an HR manager at this point, and they say, hey, you've been doing a great job. We want to give you this check to quit. It's pretty crazy, okay? You've been doing such a great job. We want to pay you $3,000, whatever the number is, to leave Zappos and never come back. Okay? It's pretty bold. Not a lot of people would do that, right? You just invested a lot of money in you, training you. They really like you. They want to keep you around, but they're paying you to leave. All right? The whole reason they do this is to force you, as kind of a nurturing leader, to make a contract with yourself that you actually want to stay here. Okay? Because if you stay at Zappos and you don't take the money, you don't get that cash. Okay? If you decide to leave Zappos, you take the $3,000 you run. But if you stay with Zappos, you don't get that money and you continue to earn your regular paycheck. All right? The whole idea is to force people to kind of go through this exercise on their own, to make a contract with themselves that this is really where they want to work. So this is this nurturing model of leadership, a servant-like leadership model. All right? Tony Shea has got another person out there, okay, that kind of falls in this bucket. His name is John Mackey. Does anybody know who John Mackey is? Ring a bell to anybody? Anybody like to shop at Whole Foods? Yeah? Whole Foods is good. All right? It's really good. All right? Whole Foods has a co-CEO named John Mackey. And John Mackey, you may be surprised to know, every single year puts $100,000 in an account and allows employees who are experiencing personal hardships to pull from that $100,000 account to deal with whatever issues they're having. If perhaps their spouse passed away unexpectedly, if their child is ill for whatever reason, if their house was ruined during Hurricane Sandy, whatever it was, there's $100,000 sitting right there and anybody can take it. Okay? Anybody can apply to get a check from it. It's pretty amazing. All right? Again, servant-like leadership. Nurturing models of leadership. So this is Leadership 3.0. We're going to spend about the next several slides looking at additional examples of other Leadership 3.0 leaders, as well as the traits that make them those types of leaders. So that all of you at the end of this conversation today, at the end of this kind of talk, you can walk out and say, if I do these kinds of things, if I act in these kinds of ways, I'm going to be an impactful leader. I'm going to be somebody who makes a difference in the companies of tomorrow. All right? So, Tony and John aren't alone. Let's look at who else is with them. Anybody know who this guy is? I'll give you a clue. He went to Wharton.
He's the guy from Warby Parker.
That's right. Good memory. All right. His name is Neil Blumenthal. All right. Neil Blumenthal. Total great memory. He works for a company called Warby Parker. In fact, he was one of the co-founders of Warby Parker. He's also one of the co-CEOs of the organization. The organization was founded by 4 guys, all of whom went to Wharton. They all graduated Wharton MBA 2010. So you're in great company. Okay. You may be surprised to know that Warby Parker, all right, is kind of flipping upside down the eyeglass industry. You wear glasses. How much did you pay for your glasses? Exactly. So how much did you pay? 99 or 95. Okay, 95 is typically the price. If you are somebody who wears glasses like me, I know I'm not wearing them right now, but if you wear glasses and you didn't go to Warby Parker, you probably paid, let's say, $300 for a cool pair of frames. You probably paid $200 for some lenses to go inside of them, and you paid tax on top of all that. You could easily be spending $500 on glasses. Okay? Is this your experience in the back? Yeah?
No, I just know we saw it, but kind of down here.
Exactly. All right, cool. So I must have really bad vision. That's why I have to pay so much. All right. So, Luxada, exactly. They're the monopoly. Warby Parker is flipping the model upside down. Instead of having to buy stuff from Luxada, they are the ones that is providing these glasses to market at one price. $95, free eye exam, right, as well?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. It's a great deal, all right? So this is a really successful startup based in New York City. And you may be surprised when you're saying, all right, Neil Blumenthal, he's the co-CEO, this other guy's from Wharton. They're the ones who facilitate new manager and new leader training at Warby Parker. Not someone who works in HR, not a consulting firm. The co-CEO of Warby Parker does the leadership training. Okay, it's pretty rare. It's pretty unique, especially because there are so many other pulls at these individuals' time. One of the things that they focus on in this training, that is kind of another trait of Leadership 3.0, is empathy. Okay? Empathy as a Leadership 3.0 trait. When I say empathy, what do you guys think about? What comes to mind?
Caring.
Caring. Exactly. What else comes to mind?
Understanding.
understanding, okay? Part of this training that Neil and the other leaders are facilitating is all around empathy. They are helping the leaders within Warby Parker to understand their individuals, the people that report into them, their personal passions, their professional interests, and how, as managers within the organization, they can be helping their people to pursue both of those things, even if it means leaving Warby Parker to do so. Okay? There are very few startups, again, that care this deeply about their people. All right? The majority of startups are really focused on the product. They're really focused on getting venture capital funding. They're really focused on getting the code right. All these other pulls at their time. Neil's focus, while he's also focusing on all those things, is also on the people of Warby Parker and engendering empathy within the managers and leaders of the organization so that they can help their direct reports, the lowest level people in the organization, to pursue both their personal passions and their professional interests. Okay? This kind of idea of empathy also comes into play because at Warby Parker they do something called 360 reviews, where every single person in the organization gets people from all different parts of the organization to give feedback on them. Again, in alignment with what are you trying to do personally and what are your professional interests as well. Everybody is trying to help you at all times to become a better person in all parts of your life so that, as you said, they can care about you, they can nurture you, they can help you to grow, they can be empathetic. All right? So this is Neil Blumenthal, Warby Parker, empathy as a leadership 3.0 trait. Anybody know who this person is? I'll give you a clue. She works in fashion. What's that? Anna Winter? Good guess. Good guess. That's all right. Any other guesses? I'll give you a clue. She has a fashion house that is named in the same way that her name is listed. Same name. Donna Karen's a good guess. Chanel's a good guess. One more maybe? You got an idea? Prada? That's a good guess too. All very close. This woman, her name is Eileen Fisher. All right? Anybody, especially the gals out there, because it's a women's brand, anybody familiar with Eileen Fisher or heard of that? Yeah, a couple head nods? All right. I had not known about Eileen Fisher until I learned about this woman, okay? Eileen Fisher, in the context of Leadership 3.0, she represents something called inclusiveness, okay? Inclusiveness as a Leadership 3.0 trait. Eileen, you may be surprised to know, in her team meetings, arranges every single person in a circle. Okay? So imagine if you have ever had an internship, you've probably seen there's a giant boardroom. Okay? It's probably a rectangular table. There is no such a thing at Eileen's offices. Everybody sits in a circle, okay, at all times. And everybody gets to talk in meetings. Okay? Here's how it happens. If you work for Eileen Fisher, you're part of the corporate office, for example, you're seated in a circle in a meeting, there's something called a talking stick. Okay? And it may be a PowerPoint clicker, it may be a Prada bag, who knows what it actually is, but it's passed from person to person to person to person. All right? And it's just given all over the circle. Everybody gets the chance to hold it and to speak. So nobody is worried about getting airtime. Nobody is worried about whether other people are listening to them because you have to listen. You are waiting for your chance to talk. You have to be engaged because your comment is going to have to reflect everything else that has been said already. Okay? She's making sure that everybody's being heard through the arrangement of these individuals as well as this idea of having a talking stick. In addition to that, and this is especially appropriate for us as young people, Eileen Fisher pulls the most recent people who have joined the organization, the new hires, if you will. She regularly pulls them all into a room and gets all their ideas. She says, come to this meeting with crazy ideas that we should be doing as a brand. New products we should have, new suppliers we should be working with, new offices we should be opening. What are your ideas? Okay? She's the CEO of this company. She's the founder of this company. Okay? In theory, it's her vision, right? It's her organization. But what she does as this inclusive leader is pull all of these people who have the least amount of experience in her organization into a room to get their ideas, okay? To act on those ideas. It's pretty bold. It's pretty unique. It's also pretty inclusive, okay? So that's Eileen Fisher, another trait for you guys to think about. Anybody know who this guy is? A little bit lesser known. Do you know him? No? Okay. This guy, he is Dr. Ijad Madish is his name, okay? Ijad Madish. I recently read about him. Really neat story, okay? Ijad is a Harvard-trained virologist, okay? Super smart guy, super smart, talented doctor, okay? When you guys interact with professors or academics or people that perhaps are doctors as well, do you ever feel like they always have the answer? Or do you sometimes feel like they don't always have the answer? What's been your experience? Yeah.
I feel that they most often have your answer.
Most often they have your answer. Exactly right. And perhaps, I don't know if this has been your experience, sometimes they're afraid to let you know when they don't have the answer, right? They would perhaps be really afraid for you to feel like this person didn't know everything about a specific subject area. They always have an answer, right? It's not, I don't know. They're perhaps afraid to say that. They always want you to feel like they know everything. They know their subject matter. They know the research. Their stuff is the best, right? Ijad, in all of his training as a Harvard virologist, okay, he observed that he was frequently running into problems with his experiments. He would say, gosh, I don't really know how to fix this issue. I want to ask somebody, right? I want to get help on this so that I can move forward with my experiment. And every time he would ask people for help, they would frown on him. They would look down on him. They would look at him like, you don't know the answer? Like, why are you asking for help? You should know this. You should not show weakness, as you said, right? You should always be prepared with the answer, right? And if you don't know, you should go figure it out so that other people don't know that you don't know it, okay? He kept seeing this over and over again in his own research. And so what he did was start a website called ResearchGate. ResearchGate is the name of the business. Something like 3 million people, okay, who are doing research, who are doctors, all different fields, come to this website from over 200 countries in the world, and they all help each other with their research to advance experiments. What he demonstrates as a kind of leadership 3.0 model is vulnerability. A willingness to show that, hey, I don't know all the answers. Hey, I want your help. I'm not the oracle. I don't have everything. I'm not omniscient. In fact, the exact opposite. I need your help. I need you to help me move forward with this. So this 3.0 model, this 3.0 idea, he demonstrates vulnerability, showing that you're not perfect, showing that you're weakness, showing that you've got perhaps a hole that you could benefit from other people's help with. All right? And his company, as I said, is called ResearchGate. It's worth a Google. Pretty hot. Okay? Anybody know who this guy is? I'll give you a clue. He's from the military, United States military. Anybody know? Yeah?
Stanley McChrystal.
Exactly right. So this is Stanley McChrystal, for those of you that didn't hear Dylan. All right? Stanley McChrystal, for those of you that don't have the full kind of color, this gentleman led the joint special operations in both Iraq and Afghanistan for the United States. So the man has been around the block with regard to military experience, okay? He's been on the front lines, he's been in leadership roles all over, okay? Recently had a book come out, really powerful military leader for the United States. Stanley McChrystal, you're probably thinking, all right, he's in the military. And when you think of military, you may be thinking, oh, this is probably a very top-down organization where one person gives a command to another person who gives it to somebody on the front lines who actually does it, right? It's just a chain of command, right? One person makes the decisions, and then other people just sort of funnel them downward to the people who actually do stuff, okay? That's the old model of the military. Today, and in fact, in Stanley's experience, there's something that he cultivated called a shared consciousness. Okay? A shared consciousness. This idea that every single person, whether you are Stanley McChrystal at the top, whether you are the frontline soldier who just joined 3 weeks ago, every single person in between needs to know the mission. They need to know their role. They need to know what the goals are so that at any point in time, regardless of what the plan was, any person could take action and never be kind of mocked or put in trouble as a result of making that decision. Every person should know what that shared objective is and be empowered to do whatever they need to do at whatever time they need to do it so that they are the ones, when they're close to the decision point, who actually make those choices. Okay? This idea of shared consciousness. The other thing Stanley talks about, okay, and demonstrates through all of this is an element of humility. Okay, another kind of leadership 3.0 trait, humility. Stanley shows humility by allowing people at the front lines to make choices themselves. He doesn't say that I'm going to tell you what to do and I have all the answers and I'm telling you the only way to do it. He's letting you make the choice, right? He's being humble and allowing other people to share their responsibility, to share their recognition, to make choices themselves and be adults. All right? He's humble in that way. Another thing when we talk about humility, Stanley McChrystal shows humility through his communication. You may be surprised when I say this, but the people that are actually the most successful communicators don't say, I know this, it is objective fact, you must follow this, blah, blah, blah. In fact, they lead with what is called powerless communication. Okay, powerless communication. They use phrases like, I think, or what we might consider, or maybe, that show a little bit of uncertainty with their ideas that would lead people to feel like they themselves can do a little bit more thinking about this idea, that they perhaps own the decision a little bit more than the person who's kind of introducing this idea. Okay? The people that are more successful communicators use this powerless communication idea. All right? And powerless communication all stems back to this idea of humility. I don't have all the answers. I'm relying on you for information. I need your help. I'm operating in service of other people. Okay? Stanley McChrystal demonstrates that. We've got two more folks I want to show you guys. Just two more. This woman, I don't think any of you have probably heard of her. Her name is Padmasree Warrior. Padmasree Warrior. If you have the opportunity to have the last name Warrior, I strongly advise you to get that last name. What a great last name to have, all right? She could kick anybody's butt, all right? The reason she could definitely kick anybody's butt, Padmasree represents one of these Leadership 3.0 traits, the word balance, okay? And when I say balance, I know there's some controversy of whether we're thinking like work-life balance versus work-life integration and some other kind of thoughts. But think about, in general, having a life outside of work, okay? You may be surprised, Padmasree, okay? Padmasree writes at least 4 hours of haiku poetry every single weekend, okay? And you will be even more surprised to know that she does that while serving as the Chief Strategy and Technology Officer for Cisco. Okay? Prior to that role, she was the Chief Technology Officer at Motorola. All right? So this is an unbelievably powerful, unbelievably smart, and also unbelievably busy woman. All right? And she writes 4 hours of haiku poetry every single weekend. Okay? It's amazing. It's amazing. All right? And other leaders like Padmasree, they go for walks, they listen to music, they unplug, they detach themselves, they recharge themselves in ways that allow them to bring their full self to work when they need to be doing that work. So when Padmasree is traveling, when she's in meetings, when she's meeting with other executives, she is on because she's been off. Okay? In today's economy, to really understand the chaos that is happening in front of us at all times and all the dots that you need to connect to make sense of what's going on, you need to detach for a little bit. You need to write those 4 hours of haiku poetry. You need to get good sleep. You need to do all these things to equip yourself to be prepared for what lies ahead as certainly a leader, but also a leader within a company that's perhaps a little bit younger like all of us. Okay? So not just at Padmasree's level. All right? I should have just called her Miss Warrior, all right? Because she's got that great last name. So again, an amazing story, somebody who's got a great gig at great company, but who purposefully does something that's totally not analytical, does something that is totally for her, that offers a sense of balance as the 3.0 trait. Final person. Anybody know who this is? Adam Grant, that's right. Have you taken his course? Not yet, okay. The reason that I share Adam's slide, I have many, okay, certainly with regard to this Leadership 3.0 model in a moment I'm going to tell you about. When I graduated, I never had the chance to take Adam Grant's course, okay? So every time I come back to speak with students, I make sure to include a slide of Adam Grant's in here because you all must take his course, period, full stop, okay? I don't care what you're concentrating in, you need to get in this class, all right? Figure out how you need to do it. Adam Grant is the youngest tenured, most highly rated professor at Wharton ever. Okay? He is the rock star of Wharton today. All right? And what Adam's kind of representing here in this context is this notion of connectedness. Leadership 3.0 being a connected leader. All right? When you guys know about Adam Grant, okay, in case you haven't heard, you have not heard perhaps that he's written this book called Give and Take. All right? Some of you have perhaps read it, a couple of head nods. What's Give and Take about?
It's about being a giver.
Uh-huh.
And like givers perform, outperform matches.
Oh, God, you're giving away the good details. Oh, you're good. You're good. Don't worry. Don't worry. Don't worry.
And it's amazing.
Absolutely. Good. So you foreshadowed right where I was going. All right, so here's what Adam does. As you said, Adam takes the world and he chunks the world, all the people in the world, into 3 groups. Okay? First group is a group called givers. Okay? Givers give whenever they can. They donate time, they donate resources, they donate introductions, they give expertise, they volunteer, they are giving. Okay? That's group 1. Group 2 is a group called matchers. Okay? Matchers are people who say, yeah, I'll help you, but only if you help me. And if I'm going to help you, I better know that you're going to help me because I don't want to help you otherwise. I better get matched. Okay? I'm going to keep score, if you will. Quid pro quo. Okay? That's group 2. Group 3 is a group called takers. Okay? So givers, matchers, takers. Takers just say, I don't really care about you. I just want what's good for me. And I don't really know what that's going to mean for you. I don't really even care. But I want what I want, and I'm going to do whatever I need to do to get it from you and to make myself feel good and succeed. And I don't really care what that means for you. Okay? Givers, matchers, takers. Anyone want to guess, okay, which of those 3 groups is likely to be the least successful? Okay? The least successful overall. Givers, matchers, or takers? What's that?
Takers.
Takers? Good guess. Matchers, also good guess. And by process of elimination, the answer is actually givers. Givers are the least successful of those 3 buckets. Okay? Here's why. Let's say you're a med school student. Okay? If you're in med school, and you've got this big book, okay, Orgo, whatever you're studying, okay, you have a test, let's say, that coming week, and if you're a giver and you're volunteering and you're writing letters of recommendation and you're helping, an impoverished community build a new house and you are doing all these things that you're giving of your time and resources and energy, but you're not necessarily studying, you're going to be the least successful when you take that exam. Okay? Because you haven't prepared. You've been giving to a lot of really noble and worthy causes, but they haven't necessarily been helping you. Right? They haven't necessarily been purposeful in your world. All right? And if you do this at such a high volume all the time, you're going to be in trouble. Okay? You're not necessarily going to move towards the direction that you want to be pursuing. Okay? In this case, perhaps passing your Orgo exam. So that's the givers being the least successful group. As you said, the givers are also the most successful group. And the reason that the givers are at both ends of the spectrum is that the givers over here that are most successful are giving in purposeful ways. They're giving to people that they really care about. They're giving to organizations that they want to see flourish, right? They're giving in ways that one day, perhaps, will be good for them, will be good for the world that they want to live in. They're just trying to think a little bit more purposefully about themselves so that they don't turn in, like over here, to a doormat of sorts, where they just get walked on all the time. Okay? So the givers are at both ends of the spectrum. Why do I bring up this whole story? Adam, through all this research, brings something to the fold called connectedness, right? All of us connected, being able to build new relationships, certainly here, certainly in professional organizations. All of us need to be thinking about this notion of connectedness and where we want to be investing time, resources, money, energy, and all of that, okay? Because we have infinite numbers of choices every single day, especially when you get into the professional world. The companies of tomorrow that hopefully all of you will be working in that are most successful will have a lot of givers within them, okay? Because being a giver is the ultimate silo destroyer within a company. Because if information is being shared all the time and people are helping each other to improve slide decks or build new models or pursue new products or get marketing ideas, and everybody's just sort of helping each other as best as they can in a purposeful way, all trying to advance the company's goals, those companies are going to really thrive. And oh, by the way, those companies probably won't have as many silos, okay, because everybody's talking to each other. So this is this notion of connectedness as a Leadership 3.0 approach, another trait to think about. All right? And again, this is Adam Grant. Adam Grant is a professor here. You should all take his class. All right. So here's where we started, team. I know a couple of you are in Management 100, so this is going to be that Management 100 summary where we tell you what we're going to tell you, we tell you, and now we tell you what we told you. All right? You guys remember that? Management 100? Anybody with Dr. G? Hi, Dr. G. Okay? She's awesome. All right? So, Leadership 1.0. Who remembers who this guy is? You know his name now for sure. Got it?
I forgot actually.
You forgot it? All right. You got his last name, Welch. Jack Welch, exactly right. Leadership 1.0, Jack Welch, former leader of GE. Anybody remember the other guy we talked about with regard to Leadership 1.0, Mr. Disney? Yeah. Michael Eisner, exactly right, who cared about the font size on shampoo bottles in hotel rooms, as well as the wattage of light bulbs. Think about that. Leadership 2.0. Anybody know who this guy is? Remember this? Howard Schultz, exactly right, Mr. Starbucks. The other person we talked about in Leadership 2.0, in this empowering model of leadership, who was it? Meg Whitman, spot on, eBay, and now HP. Tony Hsieh in Leadership 3.0. Who else did we talk about when we talked about Tony here? Mr. Whole Foods. John Mackey, exactly right. Cool. Leadership 1, 2, and 3.0. Here are the other examples we went through. Neil Blumenthal at Warby Parker. Neil representing empathy, okay? Empathy. And remember, he's the one who leads the trainings at Warby Parker, teaching all the new managers how they can care about their employees' personal and professional interests. We talked about Eileen Fisher. Eileen Fisher is the one, remember, who sets everybody up in a circle, has the talking stick. She's the one that pulls all the millennials into a room and asks them ideas. She demonstrates inclusiveness. We talked about this guy, Ijad Madish. He's the one that started the company called ResearchGate that admits vulnerability, that I don't have all the answers as a researcher, and I need help to actually get my research out there. All right? This gentleman, Stanley McChrystal, Stanley representing humility and cultivating something called a shared consciousness within the organization. So everybody gets what we're doing, and everybody's empowered to actually run with it. We talked about Ped Masri Warrior, this notion of balance, and finding things outside of work that allow you to refuel your own mind so that when you're in work, you bring your full self to it. And finally, Adam Grant, a notion of connectedness and investing in relationships that you want to maintain, recognizing that you have infinite choices over a course of a day of which to actually invest in and where to devote time. All right? So the final idea that I just want to kind of leave you guys with, and I'm happy to field questions. We'll shut off the filming. I always want to film myself just so I can see what I could be improving, because I don't have Dr. G to give me feedback. All right? We'll shut off the filming so you guys can come up and ask some questions. You guys are all in a position, regardless of whether you're a freshman, a sophomore, you're going to be working at a company in 6 months, whatever your spot is in college, you're all in a position to lead. Okay? Everybody's in a position to lead. And the leaders of tomorrow, all of you, are individuals who take people to a better place. A place that they already know exists, but that they can't get there without additional help. Okay? They need you. Okay? They need your expertise. They need your knowledge. They need all those kind of leadership 3.0 traits we talked about. We need those things out there more inside of companies, and you guys are in the perfect position to start cultivating those traits and to really be those individuals in the future. All right? So here's the question. Are you up to the task? And here's my information for all of you guys in case you want to reach out and keep in touch at any point. All right? So I'll stick around, answer any questions you have, but thank you all for coming. All right?
Thank you, Andrew. And on behalf of the Wharton Alumni Relations Council, we just want to present you a little token of our appreciation.
Thank you, brother.
So,
Cool.
Thank you.
All right. Team, thank you all for coming. Grab some food and we'll camp out.
So have you connected with Adam at all? Good. Yeah. He's in his class right now.
Really?
Yeah. That's fun. Between him and Stu, I think about their PhD.
I think that would be the goal.
Seriously.
My God, Christmas present. Oh, nice. Paperweight. Solid. Huge. Huge. Love it. I wish I had a lot of paper. I don't have I'm not like an academic. All right, what questions can I answer? So when you say big companies, all right, do you think that Whole Foods, Zappos, Cisco, that are all part of Leadership 3.0 are small companies? Is that what you typically think?
No, like, I guess just ones that are more in the finance sector.
All right. So totally different ballgame. Okay, finance heavy is different than big, right? Because all of those companies are very big, right? Finance is a totally different animal. Okay, those organizations, they have a lot of kind of culture that makes them who they are. That is going to be very slow to change. So this kind of stuff may not apply to JP Morgan, right? I think if JP Morgan wants to attract young talent 20 years from now, it's going to have to become more relevant to them, right? But it's not going to happen overnight in the same way that it could at Wharton Park. Right? Absolutely, you got it.
Hi, my name is Chris.
Nice to meet you, man.
I'm a freshman at Wharton.
Awesome.
But I just had a question. Yeah, taking management 100. But
Who's your TA?
my TA is Marissa Solomon. She's in the management group.
Nice, nice.
But
Nice TA too.
you obviously spent a lot of time investigating the third model of leadership, and there were a lot more examples. Do you think there's a reason behind that?
Sure. I see the 3.0 model as being more present, more relevant to today and in the immediate future than 1.0 and 2.0. So it's not to say that qualities of 1.0 or 2.0 are non-existent, but I see the things that we talk about in 3.0 to be more relevant to today than the kind of traits that we would talk about if we went through more of 1.0 or more of 2.0. Does that make sense? Because obviously, certain points, a leader's going to have to be authoritarian. At certain points, right, if there's a regulatory issue, we have to do this, right? It's kind of no discussion, right? And at certain points, you're going to empower people, just like Stanley McChrystal did, right? So clearly there's some 1 and 2 in 3, but the kinds of things we talked about in 3, not all of them live in 1 and 2. Cool.
I really enjoyed your
Nice to meet you, man. Welcome to Wharton. So you guys are on the same team?
Yeah, I'm Amy.
Nice to meet you. Welcome.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you for the presentation.
Easy. You guys should come to all these. It's such a great thing. Like to interact with alumni, and it's good. So these events. So the group that Dylan's in, this Wharton Alumni Relations Council, I worked in that group and led it for 2 years. So it's like, so you guys should totally, like, it's a great. Yeah, you gotta talk to alumni. It's like the greatest thing. There's like 90,000 Wharton alumni globally. Like, not just Donald Trump. Like some other really. All right. Cool. How many intros?
Hi, I'm Jenny. I'm also a Wharton freshman.
Oh, cool.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed it.
What's this? Amplify.
It's actually my friend's t-shirt, but it's for like a church family group, so it's like
Nice.
Bible study group.
Awesome. I wish I could share clothes with my friends. Girls are able to do that more than guys.
That's true.
You know, do you share clothes with your roommate, your guy roommate? You do?
Like jackets.
Jackets. All right, jackets are different than, you know.
Yeah.
I should close with my roommate.
Yeah, I think it's different.
Hi, I'm Sam. I like to learn a lot about environment in my class.
Sure.
How would you say the major difference from 2.0 is? Some things they seem to like fall into both categories.
Totally. I think 3.0 is a broadening of what empowerment means. So when I think empowerment for 2.0, I think of people being able to do their jobs in different ways, right? Like Howard Schultz saying, if you're in Denmark, do whatever you want to generate more sales. But when I think of 3.0, I think about empowerment falling in other parts of your world, like choosing what time you show up to work, what time you leave, when you go to the gym, when you're doing work, what you do outside of work as well. So I think 3.0 is a broadening of 2.0, if that makes sense. The notion of it.
Also, I think how finance and being traditional, being hard to adapt. Would you say there are some companies today that might still work better with the 1.0 model because of how they run and why so?
Great. I think off the top of my head, one business model where 1.0 may make more sense is when you have a lower skilled workforce.
Okay. Like investment bankers?
Not at all. Not at all. Investment bankers are, no, not at all. Investment banking, finance more broadly, people have to be very skilled, right? They come to great schools and so on. You could imagine, for example, though, perhaps let's say a maid service, right? A housekeeping or a lawn service, right? Or something like that, that would benefit from more rules because the group that is working in those roles would benefit benefit from greater direction, right? Because perhaps they've never done this job before, right? So think about like the population and the jobs that they're doing, and then if they need more direction, they need more kind of guidelines that would guide them to do the job effectively. For example, this is actually real. If you were to start today at McDonald's, okay, and I've worked in a fast food chain before, like I've observed this myself, they literally tell you, okay, like when you're doing the fryer, when you're working the fryer with the fries, the thing yells at you and tells you what to do, okay? It's not a human, right, but it is leading you to take action, right, in a very authoritarian, you must do this now kind of a way. It's not leaving you to judge for yourself when the fries are ready, it's telling you that they're ready, right? So in certain jobs, it helps individuals to have really firm guidance on how to do their jobs better because they've never done them before and would benefit from that.
So would you say that these jobs are like more optimized and like people have figured out the most efficient way to do them and they've involved less creativity? That's probably like how
I think over time these jobs will be done by robots. Because seriously, if we know there's one way to do it right, we don't need a human to use human judgment to actually do them. Right? If it's me taking them out at the 4-minute mark when the fries are done, a robot could do the exact same thing because I'm not judging for anything, right? A robot would know in the same way I'm being told. So over time, those jobs will go away.
Let's see, and eventually we'll only have 2.0, 3.0 as 1.0 eventually backs out.
Yeah, I think in certain contexts that are more skilled workforces, like you were saying, investment banking or finance, 1.0 will still have a place. Okay, like if regulation came out, for example, think Dodd-Frank. You have to follow these rules as a bank now. Okay, you just have to. I'm telling you, you have no choice. You have to deal with it. All right, and so in those contexts, that skilled labor, they still are going to have to use some 1.0 tactics at certain points to grow as a company. But the jobs that are actually happening, okay, in that bank are very much more advanced than the standard kind of 1.0 stuff we were just talking about in a fast food chain, for example. Right? The work of an investment banker is way more skilled, involves way more creativity, involves way more thought and intellectual horsepower than the fryer job I was giving as an example.
I see. Thank you very much.
You got it, man. I'm sorry, I can't root for you now. It's all right. You guys are hanging out. Hey.
Yeah, Roger.
Nice to meet you.
I have a question about how you exhibit these forms of leaderships into like your first job. I mean, we don't have that position
Sure.
to do anything.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Like an application. Yeah. Okay. So here are a couple examples. Let's just think back to what those 3.0 traits would be. So let's start from the end because it's most recent in our minds. Adam Grant, this notion of connectedness. When you show up in your first job, okay, your manager is inevitably going to tell you a little bit about themselves, right? They're going to say, I have 2 kids, I live in this town, I know you went to Penn, I went to Princeton. They're going to give you these little bits of information, perhaps, right? And if you are smart as a connected leader, and because you want to invest in this leadership relationship with your manager, you can take those gifts of information and do stuff with them, okay? So maybe the manager would say to you, actually, I have a son that is interested in applying to Penn, okay? And you already know a bunch of people at Penn that he or she could talk to better understand what it's like to go to Penn, right? So you could introduce their son or daughter to the people you know at Penn, right? So that would be like an example of immediately investing in a relationship that you know you care about so that you could be a connected leader. That's one example as a demonstration of connectedness. With regard to balance, okay, one of the things that you guys are going to experience, it's easy when you're in college because it's all kind of integrated, right? It's like I go to class, I go to a club meeting, I go home, I go on a date, like it's just all like one giant flow. In the professional world, you like go to work, you like go to this place, okay? And you stay there for a certain number of hours. And people outside of work are going to choose to use their time differently. Some people are going to work way more hours for whatever reason, right? They have more projects, they want to go above and beyond, whatever it may be. Other people are going to choose to spend that time differently, like writing 4 hours of haiku poetry on the weekends, right? So already, okay, even if you haven't gotten a job yet, these are the kinds of things you can start to think about. I have a network of relationships that I can help other people with, right? I can introduce people that I care about to each other, right? I can, for example, when I'm outside of class or not studying, I can be thinking about what I'm doing with my time and what would give me a mental recharge that would inspire me and give me the opportunity to give back, perhaps, right? That's the kind of stuff you can already start to think about, even when you're just a freshman or sophomore here, how you're spending your time, what you're doing with it, that should be applicable.
All right, thank you.
two examples of. And, keep brainstorming on it, because you gave you a little bit of ammunition, it should cause a little bit of reflection too. Do little experiments, Like if you said, hey, I want to do an experiment for like 2 weeks to see if I go to the gym 4 days a week, how does that make me feel? And then if instead of going to the gym for 4 days a week, I volunteer for 3 days a week, how do I feel then? Do I feel better or worse, right? You can kind of give yourself some leeway to see how it might feel different. Deal.
Andrew, so I really loved your talk. Actually, can I get a picture with you?
Picture? Yeah. You're so funny, man. Yeah, absolutely. All right, do you have a question?
Oh.
You want a picture too? Absolutely. Absolutely.
So excited that you're a queso.
Oh, absolutely. It's close to my heart. Take care of that name, all right?
Yeah, I know the whole cohort system is new, they're kind of revamping, making more inclusive. Did they have that when you were here?
They did not have it to the extent you guys have it. It was not as cool. It's way cooler now. There's the big cup, all right.
Are you guys in league
So
right
funny.
now?
No, Shekel's in the league.
It's
It's a temporary thing.
All right.
Yeah,
Good.
it's just not even up there.
Deal?
I was like,
Great to meet
where
you.
are we?
It was nice to meet
That's
you.
it. Great to meet you
You
too.
like
Go, go, go. Love your shades. Are those Warby Parker?
Yeah.
Seriously?
I know.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, so how do you distinguish between 2.0 and 3.0?
Okay. Didn't we? I feel like I talked about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 2.0. So it's all good. It's all good. You think you may have been whatever. So 2.0. Think of it exclusively in the focus of your work. Okay. So empowerment to do your job better. 3.0 takes that notion of empowerment and broadens it to other spheres of your life. So we talked about balance, we talked about connectedness, all those things apply to your personal life as well as your work life, but certainly amplify your performance at work as well, right? Because it's all connected, right? So think of 3.0 as bigger 2.0, like a bigger application of the empowerment idea. That make sense? Okay, cool. Any other questions, guys?
Yeah, hi.
Yeah.
I'm Andrea.
Nice to meet you.
And I guess my question was how you see this in your own workplace. Do you work to implement these type of things, or do you just do research on them and pass them on to CEO type thing?
It's a great question. At Bloomberg, so my current gig, we take these traits and attempt to inspire the next generation of leaders to start acting in these ways, right? To start caring about this stuff when they're interacting with each other, when they're thinking about interactions with their manager, right? When they're even thinking about how they want to lead so they have people reporting into them, okay? So it is something that we think about training people on and giving them experiences to actually test this stuff out. It is totally something we try and bring into companies. It is also a personal area of interest for me, and it's one that I sort of follow and read up on. Companies like Deloitte, they may not always be brought in to do this kind of stuff, from a consulting perspective, but individual executive coaches may work with leaders to help leaders think about the extent to which they're pursuing these kinds of ideas when they're working with their leadership teams, right? So it's not necessarily a big consulting engagement will be done around this, but individual coaches may be able to work with individual leaders to help them personally lead better.
Oh, yeah, that's really cool. I was really interested in your talk. So
Cool. Yeah, we'll keep in touch.
Well.
Absolutely.
Is Michael Bloomberg still in charge?
Oh, it's a great question. So Mike Bloomberg, he does still have the largest share of stock in the company. I believe it's 90-some-odd%. But because he's mayor of New York City, he cannot legally continue to be involved in the day-to-day operations. That said, I know that the CEO and chairman are regularly in touch with him when we are buying businesses or whatever it may be. So I don't think he's in the building by any means, but I know he's on the phone sometimes with top leaders because at the end of the day, it's his company. It's a privately held company.
So what kind of leader is the current CEO?
The current CEO? I'd say that the current CEO is leader 1.5.
Oh, okay.
I'd say he's 1.5. I wouldn't say he's all the way to 2.0 because at the end of the day, he has a very strict leadership 1.0 person that he has to report into. Right? So he wants to give you flexibility, but only to a point because he still has to report into Mike. And Mike wants to know everything.
And Mike is 1.0.
Probably. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So to follow up on, you said that you train people and lots of CEOs of large corporations.
Sure.
But as Wharton mostly underclassmen. Like, how do we learn the leadership experience without having a professional one-to-one mentoring? Because that might be very expensive.
Sure. I think the way that you start to get involved in these kinds of ideas, principally at the undergraduate level, is A, through student projects, right, and how you interact with other people in those student projects, and B, when you're in student organizations, whether it's clubs, whether it's on committees within clubs, whether you start a business, whatever experience it may be that's outside of the classroom, those are other instances where you begin to learn about your own leadership style and the extent to which you follow these kinds of ideas.
Okay, so let's say that I'm 1.00. How do I convert to a 3.0?
Well, I don't think it happens overnight. That's one thing to say,
right?
You're not going to wake up on Saturday. Yeah. So I think the way that you do it is by experimenting with the 3.0 traits and observing what happens when you act and allow others to act in a 3.0 way. Okay. Right? And see the difference, right? So if you say, I'm acting in a 1.0 way, what do I see happen? If I act in a 3.0 way, what do I see happen? How do I compare those two? Right? Do I see differences? And then perhaps you may start to experiment with additional 3.0 traits. Or maybe go back to 2.0, right? It's like it's an evolution, right? And not the same leadership style will not always work in all situations. I keep coming back to this example of like regulation, for example, but if you have to do Dodd-Frank, saying, well, maybe we will, maybe, no, you have to be authoritarian in that situation, right? So in certain contexts, different leadership styles make sense. You're malleable as a leader, right? Certainly you have principles, you have values that are really stable over time, but the way that you interact with other people can evolve if it needs to, right? Based on the situation, the urgency, whatever it may be.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
I'm Alejandra. So would you say that to start a business, the authoritarian method would be better?
It's a great question.
And then just...
there's a Wharton Alumni magazine that goes out to all those alumni globally, and I'm going to be writing an article about that exact idea, right? Because a lot of startups don't really care at all about 2.0 or 3.0. They only live in 1.0 land because they're focused on making sure their investors are happy. They're focused on getting the product out as soon as possible. They don't necessarily care for all these other things that we've been talking about. So at a certain point, if you were to only pursue a 1.0 approach in a startup setting, your people will get really burnt out, right? Your people would probably, as a result of being burnt out, not want to bring their best to work every day. And as a result, your company may not achieve the peak level of performance that it needs to succeed. So yes, at a certain point, maybe 1.0 is appropriate, but over a multi-week, multi-month period, you're probably going to kill people, right? It's going to really grind people, and it's going to lead them to perhaps leave and not bring their friends with them, which is always the goal. You want people to bring their friends because they love it so much, right? So it's okay for a short burst, perhaps, like a short little sprint before a big meeting or whatever, but at a certain point, you got to bring people, you got to like dial back. You got to take the foot off the gas a little bit because people won't be enthused to continue working for you. They'll be unhappy. Remember that stat we led with, right? It's like 70% of people are either disengaged or actively disengaged, right? A lot of people hate their jobs, right? And one of the reasons they hate their jobs is like people just ride them, right? Over and over and over. And then they don't feel that the people that are riding them are good leaders. So they're like totally demotivated. They totally don't want to do anything that will help the company. So the company can't succeed.
Okay.
You got it. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
You got it, man. Absolutely.
Yeah, sorry,
That's very fun, man. Cool.
Hi, I'm Valerie McCall.
Great.
I'm a freshman in Wharton as well, and I just want to come in and say thank you. And after you talk, I watched your video recently from Drew Dudley. He's a motivational speaker, and he said that leadership comes from this thing called the lollipop moment. Where his lollipop moment is just the fact that like you do something and you won't know what it change someone like in a very big way. So I just want to tell you that you gave me one.
I was your lollipop moment? Oh man, thank you.
So
for
thank
that.
you very much.
I appreciate
I
it.
really appreciate it, and I'm so glad.
Good. Good. Well, we'll keep in touch. You got my information. Correct?
Thank you. Thank you so very much.
You got it. You got it. You got it. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you do.
I don't know.
Yeah, you do.
It's the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Andrew.
Yeah, why not?
Here, feel free to make a drink if you'd like.
Great.
Okay. We have a fridge, so it can be salvaged.
Yeah, you can make some really good friends on the way home.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. my friends actually tell me, or my roommates actually tell me I'm like always bringing food home because like if you save like the end of an event, like even if you don't ask for food, like for example, like there's just always extra food.